Okay. Okay, so, well, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining me. I'm going to take you on a journey this evening, a journey that takes us out of this inverted 3D world of self-limiting beliefs, that of the five senses, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, and smelling, and bring us into the magical realm of 5D. A realm that is often expressed as heaven on earth. And my goal this evening is to reassure you, inspire you, support you, and guide you through this labyrinth of opportunities that wait for us once we're in 5D. The planetary vibration is speeding up, and as a consequence, we are experiencing some anomalies in our life, and this is fine. This will all be self-explanatory as we go along. But these anomalies are a consequence of our vibration rising and a lighter body density in order to fully synchronize with the new, faster vibration of the planet. So whether by universal design or nefarious means, the current global health crisis and the Central European crisis and all the other sideshows that are going on serve as a catalyst to take us into 5D, courtesy of the fourth dimension or the fourth density, often misunderstood as a destructive energy, as it may well be thought that way since we see the world around us dissolving, but in fact it's a loving energy and a bridge between 3 and 5. And this bridge between 3 and 5 is a cleansing energy, a clearing out energy, helping us get rid of all the baggage that no longer serves us, that we don't need for when we go into 5D, because we cannot take this stuff with us. So the fourth dimension is showing us division right now amongst our fellow man. It's showing us separation of the self. It's showing us all our unhealed wounds, the projection of ego and our own self-righteousness. And this is also fine, because to go into 5D, we really need to know ourselves. And none of this low vibrational stuff can actually enter into the realm of 5D, because everything works on heart coherence, which we will talk about more as we get into this. So this transformation from the 3D self-inverted world, the world of self-limitation, is coming to an end with all its excessive consumerism and the toxicity on all levels. And we are gliding into 5D, a world of abundance where nobody gets left behind. And remember, this chaos that we see is because sufficient numbers of people have raised their vibration, particularly in the last 2 years. We've been having this slow, steady curve, and in the last 2 years, there's been a big rise up of awareness. And so the frequency has changed. And as this frequency has changed, the 3D world has less support from people and the universe. So it starts to dissolve. And the more people that join the collective awareness now, the universe hears the message, brings it back in form of frequency, and transcends the frequency into existence. So we're now seeing this clash of 3 and 5, and poor old 4D is stuck in the middle of it all. Because it always has been this way and always will, that all great changes are preceded by chaos. So we're going to look today at 5D consciousness with the self and as the collective. We're going to take a little sidestep into the re-emerging non-invasive 5D technology for our health. And I say re-emerging, you'll understand why it's been re-emerging because it's been hidden for a long time. Most importantly, I think we're going to look at the effect water has on COVID, the COVID water crystal, what we can do about it, and why we should not fear this global crisis that we find ourselves in. We're going to look at, with thought alone, how we can change the pH value of water to make it beneficial for human consumption. And we're going to also look at DNA, to how to change the conductivity of a DNA cell. And we're going to see this one lady who's a regular lady, regular person like you and me, change the actual frequency to change the outcome. And of course, a talk like this would not be complete without midbrain activity, where people are doing things without the use of their eyes, riding bikes, reading books, playing sport, doing all kinds of things with pure consciousness alone. 5D, infinite awareness and infinite possibility. This could not happen in the 3D world of self-limiting belief. Oh, you can only see with your eyes. Not the case. This has been proven. And it's amazing to watch this. And we can do this also with practice. We'll look at the wonderful world of remote viewing, which is something that I do all the time. And if you don't know what remote viewing is, I'll explain that when we get to that point. And finally, with meditation, where we have come and where we are going with this, because we now know that experienced meditators who reach coherence can stop disease or bodily imbalances. And that has been proven as fact, and that is going to come right at the end. And this information has only come out about a month ago now. So this is really new, and it's really quite exciting. And you'll understand as we go along that it may sound crazy in this early stage of the talk, but you have nothing to fear from any of this that's going on. So, ascension alignment symptoms or experiences. Many of you now are able to start manifesting where you couldn't manifest before. And if you have been manifesting, then you're able now to do it quicker, or even greater things that were outside your realm before this ascension became apparent to you. Deja vu is more apparent. Intuition, although you don't always trust it. And other symptoms, such as your psychic ability, has begun to kick in. The door is opened. You become more sensitive to energy, particularly other people's. And really, in the month of April, this presented a lot of problems. This was also due to astrological conditions. But in the month of April, in particularly, people were experiencing the whole spectrum of emotions, from depression right the way through to excessive joy, to the point that it could be regarded as nervous laughter. And this is torture for the person. They've been experiencing this in a day sometimes 2 days, sometimes over the period of a week. But it's torture for them, and it's torture for the loved ones around them. But this, thankfully, is passing. And this is different from people who feel sad and concerned about the current situation. So this only applies if you've seen a personality shift in people. Otherwise, it's just the normal people going through the regular set of emotions. Well, you're more connected to Mother Earth. You understand now that you're not separate from Mother Earth. She does her thing, we do ours. You feel the connection. The grass that you walk on, you understand, is all part of you, as we are all part of everything. And we have more concern for the welfare of the animal kingdom. False beliefs begin to rear themselves. And this is very problematic, but it's great if you roll with it and allow it. The problem is twofold. Firstly, in the 3D world of self-limiting beliefs, a belief may hold very true in the 3D world. But as your vibration rises and you become more of infinite awareness and more of infinite possibility, you see that that truth that you held is no longer true because you never had the whole picture. And this is painful, especially if you've believed something all your life. The other situation with this is that perhaps something you believed that was true all your life is now revealed not to be true, because this frequency at the moment is showing us that only truth can be spoken. And so whether it comes out because you wish to say it deliberately or by error, truth is going to be spoken. And this is causing many problems for public speakers and politicians who are making an enormous amount of fraudulent slips right now. This is the truth frequency that is also in 5D. There's less conflict in your life because you're now moving with your tribe and you're in harmony with your tribe. And when there is discussion and disagreement, you no longer look to be right and finger point. That's 3D self-limiting beliefs. It's in the fear frequency. It's the low self-esteem also. But in the 5D, when you look for solutions from the heart coherence, then you get results. Then you get a decision that everyone can live by. And it doesn't come back a year later because the resolution or the solution was not complete in 3D when you finger point and you browbeat someone into submission. So 5D works purely from coherence. And you just don't want the bother. You no longer, for example, choose or wish to see violence on television or gratuitous sex on television. It just doesn't cut it for you anymore. And this is because the vibration is raised. So we have to break that habit of going back to it because that's what we're familiar with, because that's what 3D wants. And finally, ringing in the ears. Many of my colleagues omit this in their discussions, and many think it's 3G that's being switched on. It's nothing of the sort. You'd know when 5G gets switched on. The ringing in the ears are downloads that you are receiving, because along with this ascension, we are switching from a carbon-based DNA to a crystalline DNA. And so there needs to be this switch. And so the ringing in the ears is creating the switch for us. And this is why our body density is becoming lighter. We are actually becoming light people. Now, we're not going to be translucent, but we are going to be a lot more shiny, is the other way I can put it, and a lot more light, allowing us to absorb all the information that always was, is, and will be. But that is a little bit further down the line for us. And so finally here, self-responsibility. This is something that we will all love in 5D, and you will see as we go along exactly what self-responsibility is. It is actually taking care of your own health, your own work, your own situations. You no longer become a victim. You just deal with everything, and you deal with it joyfully, because you will have the support of all the people in 5D along with you. But if you're new to all of this, where do you begin? And the best way to begin is using the correct words that have the 5D frequency. And it takes just a little bit of practice. And so here, we normally say, for example, I'm sad. And the problem with this is a very 3D statement, because it is of self-limiting beliefs, because the body always follows the mind. And when the mind says, we are sad, the body says, okay, we're sad. There's not much leeway for it to do anything else. And so healing takes longer. Getting out of sadness takes longer because it's of the self-limiting belief. But the Irish have this wonderful expression. They have such a poetic language. And you'll hear it in the towns and the villages by the old folk, not so much in cities like Dublin, where it's cosmopolitan. But they'd say, "How are you today?" And they'd go, "Ah, sadness is upon me." And this is such a 5D statement because it recognizes that only in the moment, the experience or the emotion of sadness is upon me. Tomorrow, something else may be upon me. But right now, sadness is upon me. And when it separates you from that emotion, it gives you that opportunity to get out of that fight or flight, which is in 3D, and into the rest and digest. So it gives you an opportunity to get out of the sadness quicker, because 5D knows that tomorrow another opportunity may be upon me, like happiness. So to say I'm happy is great. It's nice to be happy and to feel happy, but this is 3D. It's self-limiting belief because we are more than happiness. And so it takes longer for another experience to come in. But when we say happiness is upon me, we understand that right now in this moment, I'm going to embrace every moment of this happiness, the joy, the love, the laughter, everything it brings. But I am so much more than happiness. I am infinite awareness, infinite possibility. And what else can be upon me tomorrow? Maybe love can be upon me, joy be upon me, greatness be upon me. And of course, 3D, happy, sad, is very wishy-washy. It's very, it's like white noise and fog out there. So when you want to manifest something with intention, it has to break through all that fog before it can go out into the universe, and it takes longer. But when you are speaking in 5D frequency, it's like a motorway. There's no fog at all, and boom, it goes straight out. So this is a practice that we can begin with. And it just takes a little bit of, before you speak, stepping back and wanting to know exactly what it is you are feeling and where you wish to get to. So, I mentioned we look at the effect that water has on COVID, the water crystal. It's important, obviously, because of the situation we're in, and we are 80% water. Now, Dr. Emoto is sadly no longer with us, and I'm not going to show you endless slides of his work because many of you know his work. And if you're not sure of his work, please Google messages from water and be prepared to be amazed, to be in awe. But I'm going to show you a couple of water crystals so we can use as comparison for when I show you the COVID crystals. And so I'm going to say this here, which may seem bizarre, but just bear with me because as we go along, it'll start to become clear. But in terms of frequency and vibration, we have nothing to fear from this global health crisis. You change the frequency, or in other words, the current state of existence, and you change the outcome, or you change your frequency. And you will see when you change your frequency right at the end, this global health crisis and this situation cannot affect you. The reason for this frequency and sound and light and vibration is because all existence is the manifestation of frequency and sound that is dominated by consciousness in one form or another. So, all existence is the manifestation of frequency and sound that is dominated by consciousness in one form or another. And because of this, this is why you will see this lady transform the pH value of water and supercharge a DNA cell. So let's have a look at a couple of Dr. Emoto's crystals. Here we see a water crystal at the point of freezing. The word truth was spoken. And as you can see, it is a beautiful crystal. It is sacred geometry. It has all the numbers of the universe in there, 3, 6, and 9, though it may not be clear up on this screen. It has a lovely open heart center, 5D. And when the person spoke the word truth, we know that he meant the word truth. Otherwise, this would not look like this. Truth is in the gratitude frequency, as is love, as is integrity. And truth, as you can see, the open heart center, you can't have truth with a closed heart, as you will see with the COVID crystal. So here we see love and gratitude. It's a lot more complex. It still has all the numbers of the universe in there, 3, 6, and 9. It's a beautifully open heart center. This is the gratitude part. Gratitude is the emotion expressed from a situation. It is not actually the situation, so it is just the emotion felt from something that's happened to you. It's a lovely open crystal, but it's very complex around the outside because love can be complex. But clearly the person who spoke love and gratitude had a loving relationship that he was grateful for, but really quite complex. So let's have a look at our friend here, COVID-19. As you can see, it's not perfect. It's not whole at the point of freezing. It looks distorted. It has a closed heart center. It is not in the 5D realm of infinite possibilities. It's in the 3D realm of self-limiting beliefs. It's not complete. It's not whole. Naturally, because COVID-19 is an imbalance. It's not as bad as you disgust me or evil or you fool, but it doesn't have that sacred geometry. It's at dis-ease with itself. So COVID is not the problem, really. The problem becomes when we add another word to it. And so when the word COVID-19 was spoken and the word fear was added, we now see a different picture. And the problem with this is, when a negative statement is made about COVID, then the 3D self-limiting belief, the machine kicks in. And people who are not conscious and aware go into this fight or flight. Oh my God, more lockdown, more variants, more this, more that, oh my God. And so actually what happens, unbeknown to people, it strengthens the very thing that we don't want. It's kind of like a black magic. And I say that because these frequencies, fear and so, are very low frequencies, very close to the earth plane. And it's much easier for negative energies to manifest in this realm. That's why it takes longer to manifest something beautiful, because it's further away from our realm. So this is clearly in the 5 senses, the 3D realm of self-limiting beliefs. However, 5D consciousness says, well, I'll look at the situation, and it observes the situation, and it sets aside all the emotion and all the statements and the energy that it brings and says, well, I will not allow fear to be upon me, and neither will I allow dis-ease or bodily imbalance to be upon me. I am infinite awareness and infinite possibilities, and I shall choose health. And you will see how this is done right towards the end. It's really quite exciting and very simple. So as you can see, the COVID-19 crystal, when the word fear is added, looks very similar to evil and you fool. So What can we do? We can reverse engineer this, and why not? Let's add some beautiful words to it. Let's change the frequency of it. And here we have the COVID-19 crystal on the left-hand side, and at the point of freezing, COVID-19 word was spoken and the word gratitude. And lo and behold, we have a water crystal that looks very, very similar to the gratitude crystal we saw earlier. We have an open heart center. Suddenly, the closed and cold heart of the COVID-19 crystal is now open, and it's in coherence. It's very open, it's very, very clear, it's in gratitude. But the outside is very complex, just like the love and gratitude crystal, because COVID is complex with all the opinions that are going around and the energy that's flying around. It does become complex. So here we see the comparison, COVID-19 plus the gratitude. It's very similar to the gratitude crystal. So clearly, even with the COVID-19 crystal, gratitude was spoken from the heart. Dr. Emoto said, existence is vibration, and when we separate everything into its smallest parts, we enter, as he says, the strange world of particles and waves. Particles and waves are also vibration. And if there's vibration, there's sound, even though we may not hear the sound. And he goes on to say that water is the master listener of sound. And of course, we all agree with him, along with frequency, light, sound. All this technology is coming back. It's re-emergence. It's the medicine of the early stages of 5D, because when we're really in 5D, the medicine is within. So, in other words, all existence is the manifestation of frequency and sound that is dominated by consciousness in one form or another, as we can see there. Change the thought and you change the frequency. Then you change the outcome, personally in your own world or as a collective. And when we change it as a collective to the most beneficial outcome, then anything that is not in that frequency, everything that's in that self-limiting belief cannot exist. So there would have to be fairer banking systems, or it would collapse. There would have to be a fairer tax code, and corporations would have to pay their fair share. Judiciary would be much more just. Religion would have to raise its vibration to be more spiritual. Heaven knows, I grew up in a London Catholic community and went to a school predominantly with Irish. I can tell you about hell and damnation and brimstone and fire. That doesn't exist in this 5D world. It has no place. And this is a beautiful thing. And if many of you have listened to many near-death experiences, I just want to put this in. There is no judgment from the omnipotent one doing this. You have a life review for you to make a judgment yourself if you truly want to do that. So we're seeing the 3D world crumbling as more and more people step into this 5D realm. So we're going to look now at this lady, who's a regular lady. In fact, she produced this documentary. And in this aspect of her life, she is going to be in 5D awareness, infinite possibilities, because she is in under 7 minutes going to change the pH value of water. She's going to do it in a lab with scientific equipment, and it's all recorded and all registered. And so what we know is that 3D science says impossible. You cannot change anything with your mind. You need an intervention of some sort. Well, they're wrong. So look, let's watch this. It's only 2 minutes and then we'll come back.
We should talk about pH because a lot of people understand that pH, higher pH in water is better for health. And so I thought this experiment may be very useful.
The body needs to be at a very central pH, around 7.2. And if it's too high or too low, we get into trouble.
Can you explain how this instrument works?
pH is a measure of the amount of hydrogen in the water. And there's a special probe that's sensitive to hydrogen, and then they convert it to electrical signal, and you get a number. On 5 separate occasions, I measured the pH over a course of an hour, and it doesn't change more than the very last segment. That's 100th of a unit, a pH unit. If you can change 1/10 of a unit, that would be a very profound change.
So the idea is for me to affect the water and then either up or down, and
Right.
then we will get an instant reading.
We will see it in real time. I'll be right back.
Okay, great. Let me see what I can do.
My intent was to lower the pH in the water. I visualized that my mind was connected to the hydrogen molecules in the water and getting them to multiply. More hydrogen molecules means a lower pH.
So we've started at 757,
757.
and I dropped it to 747.
That's a whole unit. That's a large effect. The fact that you can change this particular parameter, the acid-alkaline balance in water, implies that you could change it in the body. The body has this amazing intelligence. It knows what it needs. So the fact that you can create an environment with your consciousness and your thoughts and your intention that pH can change at all would allow the body to change the pH in the appropriate direction that it needs. The dogma is you can't change your body chemistry by thinking about it, but the implication is that the intention and the imagery that you use can be used to change your own internal pH. And yes, just let your body do what it knows is the optimal direction and magnitude for change.
So 3D says that the mind can't change anything. Here, it clearly shows that it can. And it is this awareness, actually, that allowed the Christ to turn water into wine and feed the 5,000 with 3 fish, or 3 loaves and 2 fish. Of course, he's an ascended master, and we have a little bit of a way to go with this, but it is that awareness, it's that thinking. And when you understand the technology of a miracle, you understand that it's no longer a miracle, it's actually an awareness. So we're a bit of away from that, but it's the same thinking. And I think it's important to understand that. So what about DNA? It was believed up until recently, and thanks to the work of Bruce Lipton, we now know that our DNA is something we're not stuck with. Up until recently, we believed that your DNA is your DNA, and what you've got is what you've got, and that's it. You've got to live with it. Well, thanks to his work, we can no longer say 3D self-limiting belief. I have asthma because my mother had it and her grandmother had it, and so on back, or I have a heart condition because dad had heart condition and his father, and so on. This doesn't wash. This is 3D self-limiting beliefs. We know we can change our DNA, and we're going to see this lady now. She is going to change the conductivity of DNA cell, and I'll come back after and explain the implications for this.
I have a special device here. It's called a potentiostat. This allows me to take a measure of the conductivity of DNA itself. DNA is very sensitive to human consciousness. From my own previous research, the experiment to see is if you can influence the conductivity. Okay, first sample of DNA, and now we're going to do 3 controls in a row. Then we're going to do it a 4th time in a row, and
Okay.
except you're going to intervene.
Okay.
So we know what the variation will be, and the experimental error, as I was saying before, will be if there's no intervention.
Okay.
Yeah. 12.46, so the average is 12.9.
12.9 kilo ohms.
So if you now are able to, with your consciousness, resonate with this and either get it to go up or down, then we'll be able to measure it.
My intent was to increase the electrical conductivity. So I visualized that my mind was producing an electrical current in the DNA at a very high speed.
Okay, I think I did it. It felt like it responded very quickly. That's why I kind of stopped.
Okay, so here is the magic number we're looking for. And it's way down to 6.5.
Yeah, I felt like it responded very quickly, and it was,
Wow.
it's like I zapped it or something.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
6.5. Let's do it a couple of times. And this is same sample.
6.5 kilo ohms.
50, right.
Oh,
And that's
gosh.
okay, so here's number 2, and this one's measuring at 6.37.
The fact that there's such a huge difference so quickly, it's almost like there's no question that something happened. Am I correct to say that?
Absolutely.
I mean, right? I mean, like, how could it jump from 12 to 6?
Okay,
I mean,
and this one
this
is now
again the
now
third.
reading 6.2.
Okay.
That's a large, robust effect demonstrating that at least your consciousness is able to resonate with and change the electrical properties of DNA. And the implication for the audience is that if you can do it, then we can do it. And with our own intention, we can heal our own bodies.
So there again, we see that we can heal our own bodies, the medicine from within. But let's say we're not sick. Let's just say that we just want to get optimum body performance, and we can do this by supercharging the DNA cell conductivity to give us a stronger immune system, to give a better cognition, give us better strength, better digestion, everything. And we can do this with thought alone. So there's much stuff online that you can go and see to learn about this. But I would recommend these 2 clips that I've showed you come from the documentary called Superhuman. And you can get it on Netflix. I think it's about €8 to rent or download. I'm not sure. Very, very much worth it, because once we start getting into that habit of saying, wait a minute, there is something I can do, then we start to change the chemistry and the belief in ourselves, and we get out of the self-limiting belief into infinite awareness. So I like to do some experiments myself. I don't have the high-tech equipment that the laboratory had, but all you need for this experiment is to download this Bovis meter. It's just a picture. You can download it online. You need a pendulum and a food source. And so, again, although this isn't academia, the results of the pH test and the DNA test do offer some support, some kind of support to the findings that we're going to see here. Because otherwise, quite rightly, you might say, this is woo-woo, this is too esoteric, it's got no foundation. But as I say, thanks to these 2 little segments, we've got some kind of support. So, what is this about? 6,000 Bovis units is neutral. Anything to the right of this gives life force to food or life energy. Everything to the left depletes life force. So we're looking for a swing far over to the right as we possibly can. So what I'm going to do now is show you my experiment that I did in real time, show you exactly how it was done and the findings that we came across. Okay, so let's show you how this is done. Here is an ordinary apple, as you can see, and we just place it in the center there. And we need to find the life force of this apple. And so how we do this is, first of all, with our pendulum. We take the pendulum and we strike it over the center of the apple. And what will happen is the pendulum will spin, as you can see, and when it's finished taking the information, it will stop spinning. There you are. It's that quick. So now it's got the information. And so the next thing we have to do is to read that information. And so we put our Bovis meter in place. On the left-hand side where it's red is sick, krank, and on the right-hand side is optimal. And this is what we should be shooting for. But let's see what the life force is in this apple at the moment. We strike it down the center, and let's see where this pendulum takes us. Well, it's going in the wrong direction in terms of nutrition and health. We're getting down to 8,000. It's heading down towards 8,000. It's at 8.5 right now, heading down to 8. Is it sticking at 8? Nope, it's heading down to 7.5. Is it sticking at 7.5? It might be sticking at 7.5. No, it's going down to 7. 7,000 on the Bovis meter, very much in the negative, draining life force. And it looks like it's stopping at 6,500 on the Bovis meter. That's about where it's going to settle. Anything below 5,000 is pretty much dead. You'll probably find GMO products in the 5,000 and below. So that's the measurement of the apple as it stands right now. So we take the apple again and we put it back in the center, and all we do now is say a simple prayer, whatever prayer is to you, a prayer of gratitude. And I put my hands over it. I'm going to put my hands above the camera just so that you can see the apple clearly, but here they are. And I'll say a simple prayer. Heavenly Father, Mother God, thank you for the nutrition this apple gives us. We also thank the apple for the nutrition that we receive from this. Amen. That's it. Something very simple. Now we take the pendulum again and we strike it down the middle. And it'll start to spin. It will take the information. And when it's finished taking the information, it will stop spinning, which it has done now. Okay. And so now we take our Bovis meter again. We put the Bovis meter back in so you can see it. And now what we're looking for is it to go into the optimal. So let's have a look. We strike the pendulum down the middle and see where this is going to take us. So we know it's heading in the right direction, which is perfect for us. Brilliant. It's heading right into the optimal. Heading up towards 30,000 on the Bovis meter. It's at about 28 now. And it's sticking at about 28. So this is giving life force to the food. This is giving energy to the food. So it's stopping at about 28,000. And that's it. That's what you do. But you do not have to do this process. You do not have to use the pendulum. You don't have to use the apple. And neither do you need the Bovis meter. All you need to do is just simply, before you cook anything or eat anything or drink anything, say a quick prayer of gratitude. So if the results there or the technique doesn't appeal to you, you still find it a bit woo-woo and a little bit hit and miss, you can try the blood pressure test or the oximeter test. I'm sure everyone has got a blood pressure monitor at home. If not, they're only about 30 euros in the apotheke. And you can do this experiment. You do a control, first of all, the left hand, right hand, left hand, right hand, write the results down, find the average. And then you put the blood pressure monitor on again and have the digits right in front of you and decide which way you want your blood pressure to go, up or down. Switch it on and decide if you want your blood pressure to go up, and just think of something that really stresses you out, makes you really angry, sends your blood through the roof. Better still, have a glass of Coca-Cola first. That'll really put the blood pressure up. and then watch in real time the numbers change. And likewise, if you want the blood pressure to go down, think of something soothing, calming, loving, stressless, and you will see that the blood pressure results start to drop. It's thought, intention that is doing this, that is changing the frequency in the body to change the outcome. And so even if this isn't working for you, there's the oximeter test. It's this little gadget you put on your thumb and it checks the amount of oxygen in the blood. This is probably even easier. You switch it on and the digits will go up and down until they find a balance. And once it finds its spot, then start, I suggest, instructing the body to put more oxygen in the blood and see the flow of oxygen running through, see it running fast, running through all of your body, see the blood enjoying this new breath of oxygen. And you will see that you get more oxygen in your blood. And we do know actually from the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza that when people did weight training physically, and people actually did the weight training in their mind without doing it physically, they actually had increase in body mass just by thought alone. So again, we can see the old 3D dogma doesn't work, that you need an intervention. The mind is the intervention, and it works perfectly well. And so if ever you doubted the power of prayer, whatever prayer means to you, this slide here should serve as an example to the power of prayer. The left crystal is the Fujiwara Dam before a prayer was offered. It's polluted and it looks like you disgust me. The one on the right is the water crystal that was spoken and a prayer was offered. And this is probably one of the most beautifulest crystals that I have seen. It's extremely complex and very pious, actually. And it's very clear that the person who said the prayer felt the prayer from the heart. This goes without saying. So only with elevated 5D awareness can this type of crystal come into existence. But I hear you say, Mike, surely prayer is 3D, self-limiting beliefs, because we need an outside intervention, because we don't believe that we have the power to do something. And the answer would be, well, it depends on the prayer, because there's different modes of prayer. Now, if your prayer is a petition in the sense of something like, dear God, my husband or wife is having heart surgery tomorrow, please allow the surgery to be successful so he can come home. Yes, that is a 3D prayer. It's a petition, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes we just don't have the strength. Fine. But 5D prayer says, well, look, I'm not separate from God. God is within me as I am within God. Therefore, there is a tiny fragment of me that is godlike. And since God is the universe, therefore I am part of this universe. I'm part of everything that exists. So therefore, I have the awareness and the potentiality to heal. And so a 5D prayer would be something like, Heavenly Father, Mother God, I invite you to join us in sending healing to the surgeons and to my husband, wife. For we know that this will be a success and he will return home in your name. Amen. That is a kind of 5D prayer. And it takes us out of that hopelessness. And it's not egotistical or arrogant, because we are part of the God frequency, and we have to realize this. It's only religion that has separated us from this godliness. So we know this through the medicineless hospital in China, where we saw 3 trained monks who raised their awareness to above the possibility of being sick. They raised their awareness to being completely whole and completely at one with the self, and they transferred this energy in the form of a chant, which makes it much stronger, to a lady with an inoperable tumor, and we saw on the screen this tumor disappear in under 3 minutes simply by transferring energy. And here's an experiment you can do to show yourself this 5D awareness. And we do this in our healing circle as an exercise. One of them is we put our hands on our lap like this. I'll put it here. And we just instruct the energy in the left hand to go to the right hand, and the right hand to bring it back into the left. So it's like a ping pong ball. And you can look, you can close your eyes, but you just instruct it. There's no big ceremony. You just instruct it. That's what you want it to do. And within seconds, especially if you're a healer and you're used to energy, you can feel this exchange. And so therefore, if you can exchange energy and you have a pain in the left knee and your right knee is functioning well, then you can transfer the good energy of the right knee into the left knee. This is 5D awareness. This is the medicine that's within. So I just want to sidestep while we're on track about medicine, because 5D technology of frequency, light and sound is on its way back. And Anthony Holland is leading the way in this. He's having some success zapping diseased cells, cancer cells, anything really, viruses, but he's nowhere near successful. We know that frequency and light, we are able to destroy some disease, but it isn't perfected yet. And the thing is, Royal Raymond Rife, the guy you see in this picture here, over 100 years ago, we're coming up to 100 years, was curing everyone of all disease, from cancers, tumors, viruses, everything. He never admitted it, but his colleagues admitted it and quoted several times in the papers. He was a genius amongst fools. He, unfortunately, was living in a 5D world like Tesla, fighting 3D allopathic, self-limiting belief, fear medicine. And so he ended up a broken man on Valium, where he overdosed in a home. He had mysterious fires in his lab, his papers were confiscated, and he was sued several times in order to bankrupt him, to stop him. This is a man who was the first man to see a live virus and a live cancer cell. He developed the universal microscope that you see here with over 300 moving parts. And the University of California had a banquet in his honor called The End of All Disease. And when a true genius appears in the world, you may know him by this sign, that the dunces are all in confederacy against him. And this was the case with Royal Raymond Rife. But we're going to look at him, a rare video of him doing his work, where he is going to destroy a virus in a very short period of time. Now, I've got this clip up here, and if you look at the name Royal Raymond Rife, just below there, there's a little round light. And when he turns on the beam ray on the left, that black box, the light is going to flash. And what with the frequency and the UV light, bang, he destroys the virus, and it's that quick. So let me show you this, and I'll get back to you.
Rife used quartz slides because the light passed through better than glass. Now the ray tube is above Rife, which will be turned on later to kill the virus. The instrument is to the left of Rife, the black instrument, which is a ray tube instrument. It consists of being a transmitter, which Rife could tune the frequencies, which he knew would kill the virus. Just like a voice would crack a glass. Turn on the ray tube instrument, which will activate the light.
Yeah.
It'll have a little flash, and that'll be all it is to kill all the virus in the room. Just on for a few seconds. This ray tube instrument had a capacity of 500 watts, which would transmit this energy 10 to 12 miles in the whole, around the whole area.
So That's Royal Raymond Rife. One of the reasons we feel that Anthony Holland is not having as much success is because he's using digital frequencies, and it seems there is a subtle difference with analog, which Royal Raymond Rife used. He would use these analog tubing, you know, the valves that used to be in the back of the televisions and the radiograms, and when you turn the television on, it had to warm up before you got a picture. So he identified every virus, every diseased cell. It had its own signature, its own shape and its own color, and he used the quartz crystal because he could see it clearer. Very briefly, he would have one frequency to carry the other frequency into the cell of the virus or the tumor, whatever, and it would zap it along with the UV light. And that's all it would take to destroy the virus. A genius amongst fools. His stuff, his work is re-emerging. His microscope has been kept safely away. We know his papers were not destroyed, but were confiscated. And we are living in the frequency of truth. And with the work of Anthony Holland, which is creating the frequency, along with all the others, we will see within my lifetime, really the re-emergence of Rife technology. And I encourage you also to go to the Rife website and look at his amazing, amazing work. Sound is absolutely 5D frequency, 5D technology. It can put out fires. And the frequency is between 30 and 60 hertz. It's a very, very low frequency and a very low sound. This is now making traction, although there is some 3D resistance. But the consequences for us are great. Environmentally, we save ourselves millions of gallons of water resource. So this is coming along now, but you won't read any of this in the mainstream. The 432 hertz is the frequency that the universe is believed to vibrate at. 4 plus 3 is 7, 7 plus 2 is 9, the number of the universe. And the word Om has 4 syllables when it is pronounced correctly. This also vibrates at 432 hertz, the same frequency that is found in all things in nature. Dr. Glenn Ryan at the Global Research Lab about 20 years ago was doing research on UV light absorption. And this is the good UV light, not the bad UV light. He would play music tuned to 528 hertz. And he found that with Gregorian chances, the outright winner, the Gregorian chance, increased UV absorption by 9%. Such a large increase that they did the experiment several times because they thought their equipment was making errors. The outstanding loser was rock music, which depleted UV light. So 528 also is believed to repair damaged DNA. 5 plus 2 is 7, 7 plus 8 is 15, 1 plus 5 is 6, the number of healing and creativity in the universe. So we've got all these numbers here, 528 with 528 tuning forks. There's a tubular bell that's at 528. There's all kinds of things going on with frequency and sound now. Actually, one of the things I do with these headphones is I've got a tone generator, and just for experiments, I would, if I've got a little twinge in my wrist or something, I would stick the earphones to the point where there is an injury and put 528 tone on and let it heal. Certainly my experience, I found for small things with such primitive equipment, it tends to work. I also have Rife digital equipment, which I use for maintenance. I wouldn't dream of using it if ever I was serious, because the frequencies in the books are not guaranteed to be accurate, and we don't know exactly what Royal Raymond Rife's frequencies were. So let's have a look now at midbrain activity. for those of you who don't know what midbrain activity is, this is the wonderful model. Absolutely 5D, infinite awareness, infinite possibilities. Can only exist in 5D, cannot exist in the 3D realm of self-limiting beliefs, because 3D says that you can only see with your eyes, and that's the end of the story. Well, 5D says otherwise. 5D says, actually, no, I am consciousness, I am infinite awareness and infinite possibility. Using my eyes is an option. So we're going to see largely children now do all kinds of activities, reading books and running, rock climbing, without the use of their eyes. In fact, science agrees that we don't know where consciousness resides, whether it's within us, within the 2-meter magnetic radiance of our heart center, or somewhere out there in the universe. We have no idea, but we know there is consciousness. And in the second half of this video clip, we're going to see an excerpt of remote viewing. Now, remote viewing is the wonderful model of somebody setting a target. For example, they would say, let's take this picture that's up here on the screen. And they would give a coordinate, ABC1. And they would say to me, move to and describe the target. Now, obviously, I don't know what the picture is, but he does. And all I've got is the coordinate. Now, 3D would say, you're crazy, you're insane, it can be anything. How am I supposed to know? Self-limiting belief. But 5D, infinite awareness, infinite possibility, says, aha, well, since nothing is created and nothing is destroyed, and everything was, is, and will be out there in the universe, and since I am part of the universe because I am infinite awareness, then all I have to do is just tap into it and bring it back to me. And that's what we do. And the implications for remote viewing is it helps us expand our awareness and consciousness. And we can also use this to help find lost cats, lost dogs, and so on and so forth. I'm going to show you some of my remote viewing. I only do it for fun, for practice, and it keeps me sharp, and it keeps me aware and in that belief that I am infinite awareness, because we have to break the habit of being ourselves, otherwise we fall back into the old 3D. So let's look at the midbrain activity and then the remote viewing.
You are witnessing children reading and playing, completely blindfolded.
The other dragons were purple with smooth, shiny scales.
It might seem like a magic trick, and when I first saw it, I thought the same thing. This can't be true. But what if I told you that you too can train yourself to see without your physical eyes? Anyone can do this. And if we can train our brains to see with a blindfold on, then we can also cultivate this higher power to make our brain do just about anything. So how do we do it? There are a few different methodologies that all achieve the same result because they're based on the same principle. If you believe it, you can achieve it. We're even there.
Tell me what's on this card.
Teacup.
Belief can supersede what the brain thinks and does. It's the ultimate validation that our consciousness can make our physical brain do exactly what we want it to do. We all have the power to achieve and manifest these superhuman abilities. So it's not seeing is believing, but rather believing is seeing.
This is a very kinesthetic day today. They're going to be using their hands, creating 3D models of the target using Sculpey clay, modeling clay. They're going to be...
Keep going. It looks like a spider. It has little what spider?
Legs.
Legs, yeah. Take it. Keep Armstrong.
He said that's Neil Armstrong. Is that it? That's all? Okay, you ready for your feedback? Okay, hold on to your seats, folks, because this was the Apollo 11 trip to the moon.
At the Apollo 11.
Apollo 11 trip to the moon with Neil Armstrong. Now that's truly what we refer to as a holy shit moment.
So all the information is out there for us. And with remote viewing, the biggest mistake we could make is to go into the, oh my God, when we do this, we should do it with fun and an open heart and not worry if we make mistakes, because we will at first. And this should be our mantra. Believe it when I see it, I will not. See it when I believe it, I will. So let me just show you some of my remote viewing, because, you know, it's one thing to talk the talk, but we have to walk the walk also. So here we are. This was a target that was set to me. And first of all, I apologize for the lack of ability to see clearly my drawings. I doodle, I'm not a drawer. But I was given the target G57-2L318. I didn't know it was the Taj Mahal at all. So I had to go out into the universe and find this. So the first picture, as nearly always with me, resembles nothing like the end picture. The second picture, I started to get a cross between the towers and the trees. The third picture, I managed to get the shape of the Taj Mahal, and I got this little symbol, an A, that was on its side, on top of it. And I decided to reverse it and put it in front of the Taj Mahal. And I got the wall that was running across the Taj Mahal, but I got the pillars and the trees in the wrong place. And of course, the river comes from wide to narrow, and I put it narrow to wide. But that would be regarded as a very good remote view, especially when it's just doodling. The second remote view I want to show you is, surprisingly, I did get the impression on the first page. I got an impression of somebody suspended, somebody hanging. Although if I remember, I did think he was playing basketball or something. But the important thing was I got this impression of the suspension. I got the wall, although I got the wood paneling going the wrong way. This also would have been very good remote viewing. And this we actually did in about 15 minutes in our circle. We only allowed 15 minutes for this. Remote viewing, sometimes I can take 2 hours. Sometimes I do it over the course of a week. It just depends. I stop and start it, and when I get blocked, I leave it and I come back. And the last remote view I did, I was given the coordinates. I think it was CFC1. And the final drawing, as you can see there, was this round shape. I got the shape of the stadium, I got the pitch in the middle, and I got the roof, the supporting girdles that run across it. This I did in about 2 hours. At first, I thought it was either a pizza, a crop circle, or a stadium, and so I went with the stadium. The important thing when you remote view is to not try and define an object. The moment you actually say, that's a stadium, the mind kicks in and consciousness goes out the window. So I think this is very good if you guys would to consider doing remote viewing. It's a great way and a fun way of getting more awareness and getting into that 5D awareness. So, as we're sort of heading up towards the end now, I want to talk about consciousness and where we've come from and where we're going to now. Because since the discovery of the Maharishi effect and the super radiant effect back in 61, 62, as I mentioned earlier, we've had this slow and gentle incline in awareness. And 2 years ago, it took a big, big leap upwards. And the implications for this are that whilst these two fantastic meditations work excellent and do work and do change and create outcomes, It is a special form of meditation. It is an extended version of transcendental meditation. It's very costly to learn. It's very time consuming. It takes a lot of practice, and many people don't have the resource to do that. But I'm going to tell you about this and what we can do and the latest technology that's helping us. The Maharishi effect requires 1% of a target population, in the target population, to meditate in their special technique and await for the outcome. The super radiant effect requires the square root of 1% of the population to meditate in that area 3 times a day for a minimum of 20 minutes a day and await for the outcome. And interestingly, when they stop meditating, things don't drop back to where they were before. They drop back a little, but still remain at a very high standard. And so when they did the super radiant effect for the Lebanon war, war fatalities were down, war injuries were down, conflicts or combats were reduced, and talk amongst the protagonists were increased. So what does this mean for us? Well, let's take Austria. If we are looking to have an outcome in the target population of Austria, we would need 1% of the population, which is about 900 people, 900 of these special meditators meditating for the outcome. Or if we was using the super radiant effect, we would need 250 people to meditate all in the target area, which is Austria, and wait for the outcome. And the benefit is that the border towns of Slovakia, Hungary, and Czech Republic would start to reap the benefit of the meditation. But let's just bring this home even further. And just bear with me if I got the figures wrong, but I feel that I've been told the Vic Centre, VIC, has a staff of about 5,000. To do the Maharishi effect, you would just need 50 of these trained meditators in the VIC Centre to create the effect you want. And if you use the super radiant effect, you would need just about 15 people scattered about the VIC Centre, or you could put them all in one room, meditating 3 times a day, 20 minutes a day. And then the people in the town outside of the VIC Centre would start to feel the benefit as it started to expand. If you'd like to know more about the super radiant effect, please go to the worldpeacegroup.org. The website is at the bottom there. You can download a free copy of the website, of the book, Super Radiant Effect. It's full of data, full of pictures. It's not an easy read, but a good read. And there's on that website all the other studies that they have made that you can check in and see how the other super radiant effect and Maharishi effect meditations worked. By the by, the Lebanon results proved statistically that the chances of it being luck were 1 in 1 billion. So, bringing it forward, there are 80 of these specially trained meditators on the Romanian border right now. They need 1,250 in Russia and 670 in Ukraine to create coherence. In other words, they're not looking for the end of or the beginning of or finger pointing. They're looking for coherence, for a lasting solution. And the most interesting thing of all of this is that world peace is achievable within 24 hours if we get the numbers. Globally, we need 8,300 of specially trained meditators to achieve this. But my research has told me something different. Since this period of time, our evolutionary uptake has been so great that the important thing is that we meditate together, because 5D awareness understands that the target population is the planet. So if we're looking for an outcome or a change in Austria, We no longer need the target population to be in Austria because Mother Earth is the target population. And so if we meditate all at the same time with the same intention, it has the same result. And again, science has proven this. So you can be in Brazil, you can be in Australia, New York, London, anywhere, as long as we do it together with the same intention. Better still, if it was sung in the form of a chant or a hymn, because we know it increases and gives the frequency more power. So this is something for food for thought, but many of us hardly have any time at all. We get up, we got to get the kids ready for school, give them their breakfast, take them to school, come home, feed the cat, go to work, come home, check the kids have done the homework, feed the kids, feed the cat, and then that's it, your day's done. And understandably, you don't have the energy or the resource to meditate often. But thanks to the Global Coherence app, courtesy of the Heart Math Institute, we can now connect people from all over the world. You can start your own coherence group globally or locally. And there already is a Russia-Ukraine coherence group bringing coherence to Russia and Ukraine. So what does this all mean? So if you were to start your own group or join a group, the app will show you how many people in that group are online creating coherence at the moment. It will show you how many of those in the group are actually in coherence at the moment. And if you buy this little gizmo that you can attach to your phone, it will register when you are in heart and mind coherence with yourself. It also registers with the group that you're online. And when you're in coherence, you go in and join the group in that group that's already reached coherence. The message goes out to the universe, whatever the message is in the group, and it comes back as frequency and transcends into reality. So there's all other things you can do. Now, if you download it now, this is completely free. You can have a free trial where you can use your thumb now with its camera, and the flashlight creates heat to register coherence. This is a fabulous way of making changes. If you don't have time, you can do this on the bus, put your phones on and just absorb yourself at lunchtime or on the way home. I have been messing about with this idea for a year, I have to say. And today I thought, well, I'll take the opportunity of, with this talk, downloading the app and create my own group. And so I've created Austria Rising. And this is a coherence group for 5D awareness, to raise the frequency and vibration, and therefore a better life for everybody in Austria. And no doubt it will resonate throughout the West of Europe. And there is the code, Greenwater 17. It's a generated code from the Heart Math Institute. I invite you to get involved in this. This is our opportunity. This is a time now where we can actually do something as the collective and bring more people into the collective, no matter how we do it. I think we have to do it now. We're at that point. We're so close to having collective 5D awareness. Though I have been told it has dropped off a little bit because there's a lot of distraction in the universe at the moment. But please consider joining Austria Rising, and let's create coherence together and let us be the change. And of course, doing something today our future self will thank us for. So finally, here's the big news. This is the big news that came to me about only a month ago now. In a comprehensive study, meditators with heart and mind coherence prevented and halted SARS infection. This is the eureka moment. As you can see from the pH and the DNA, we know through thought alone, just by thought alone, we can change an outcome. We can also do this through heart coherence, through meditation. So what does this mean? Well, they took a control group, and the control group was usually made out of people who were not in the study. They were just the husbands and wives of people in the study. So they drew the blood from the control group and introduced a pseudo-SARS virus into the blood. And they found, as you would expect, a mixed bag of results. Some were infected, some weren't. That's just the way it works. But there's a twist to this at the very end. Then they took the novice meditators. They'd been doing it for about 3 months, and they weren't serious about the meditation. They'd do it Monday and then do it again Thursday, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. Some were a little more willing, but still they gave up after 3 days and went back the next day, that type of thing. They drew the blood, introduced the pseudo-SARS virus, and they found that those who were more serious with their meditation had a larger group of uninfected people. There was still some infection, but there was a larger group of uninfected. So this started looking really quite promising. And the eureka moment came, where they took the experienced meditators. And these experienced meditators were doing it for a year or more, very serious, once, twice a day, 30 minutes, an hour, and they had to reach heart and mind coherence. They had to have this synchronization. And when they drew the blood and introduced the pseudo-SARS virus to the blood, under the microscope, they saw that the virus could not penetrate the cells, thus rendering them immune to infection. And this is all because of the inner medicine that is within us. But it gets better. They went on with these studies, and they took the protein of the blood of this experienced group of people who never had infection, and they put it in the blood of the control group who did have infection, and they found that their infection began to heal itself, and they had no infection, thus showing that the information from the frequency was able to transfer to another body. So in other words, the frequency held the belief that they were in that infinite awareness, and it was not possible for them to become diseased or have disease upon them. And that information was stored and transferred to someone else. This gives us great, not hope, great possibility for us. And it shows that if you are worried about the global health situation, now you know why I said at the beginning, you do not have to be worried about this. Raise your frequency and it is not able to affect you, because all existence is the manifestation of frequency and sound that is dominated by consciousness in one form or another. Raise your frequency and change the outcome. So, we have a choice. We can play out this 3D paradigm, the matrix, the simulation, the computer program of authority knows best, religion knows best, we're the good guys, they're the bad guys. The 3D solutions normally create more division than anything else. 5D doesn't take sides, it just looks for coherence. In 5D, you can tell somebody that you are beautiful without the worry of them thinking, why is he flirting with me? And in 5D, you can say, thank you. I do feel beautiful today. Thanks for noticing. Or we can be in 3D and send our young people off to war. And the 3D mind of the soldier, which clearly is self-limiting belief, do as you're told, authority knows best. 3D says, I can't do it. It's impossible. I'm not skilled enough. But 5D says, I can do it. It is possible. And if I don't know how to do it, I'll learn as I go along. I'll ask. The man in the middle here, Dean Otto, unfortunately got run over by this young man on the right-hand side in a freak accident. The guy on the left said, well, there's only a 2% chance you'll ever walk again and you're going to be paralyzed. Well, he said, actually, 5D, infinite possibility. I'm actually going to run a half marathon and I would like you to join me and the young man. And they did. And what is astounding about this is that he did not stay in the 3D self-limiting belief of I'm the victim and then destroy the young man's life by threatening him with being sued and lawsuits all over the place. He actually freed himself and freed this young man from a lifetime of misery, which was a great, great act of coherence, which is in 5D. Only can be done in 5D. They said Joe Dispenza will never walk again. And we all know the story there. For months, he sat in his bed, seeing his skeletal bones being repaired, all being joined. It took time, but he did it because the body follows the mind. And bit by bit, gently, each day, if you build up this self-belief in yourself, you too can do what appears to be impossible. If we all grew our own food, which is 5D awareness, we can virtually eat for nothing. 5D self-responsibility. It's fun and simple, actually, and with hydroponics, you can grow an enormous amount of food in your apartment. Here is, at my place, this is 3 lettuce heads in a bucket of hydroponics. You don't need anywhere near as much space, and this is going to grow about half again. And from seed to harvest in this time of year is 6 weeks, maybe 5 weeks. And there you can see on the right the roots as they go down and grab the water with all the nutrients in it. If we all grew our own food and we all chose who would grow what, we could eat for virtually for nothing. And when we raise our frequency to the outcome we desire, changes take place. And it has to take place. And if we desire an outcome in the right numbers, then no matter what laws are passed, the universal law will supersede. And so the law or the thought or the benevolent outcome required will always happen. And we can see this result here in, where was it now? Frankfurt, I think, or Dusseldorf. So 3D is the same program played out again. Let's make the motorway even bigger. 5D says no, we can reroute the roads and allow the people to enjoy this beautiful scene. The Babushkas of Chernobyl is a documentary about the women of Chernobyl who refused to leave. 115,000 left Chernobyl, 3D, on the words of the authority. 1,200 came back on the word of the authority, 3D. But these women didn't leave. And the documentary is based on 3 of them. And, well, they grew their own veggies in radioactive ground, they fished in radioactive lakes, and they continued to live. I don't know if they're still alive now. This documentary was a few years ago and they were quite old. And they had people coming in, checking the measurements with them. They said, we are not moving. We were born here, raised here, and we'll die here. And they continued to live amongst the radioactive outfall, only in 5D consciousness. Although, respectfully, they probably never saw it as 5D awareness. They just saw it as that's the way it is. 3D, self-limiting belief, It's better to put your dog down. He's paralyzed. He'll never be able to walk. Look, the book says under these circumstances, there's no chance of him walking. It's better to put him down. Well, in 5D consciousness said, some great people took Luna, paralyzed at the back legs in, and rehabilitated him over 4 months, and Luna walked again. What a waste of life this would be, simply because 3D awareness said, look, that's how it always is with these symptoms, so it's better to terminate the dog's life. What a waste of life. 5D said, no, there is another possibility. So, start by doing what's necessary, then do what's possible, and suddenly you are doing what is perceived in 3D as impossible. Because ships don't sink because of the water that surrounds them. Ships sink when water gets inside them. So, don't let what's going on around you get inside you. Keep your frequency high. And above all else, you will never speak to anybody more than you do yourself. So be kind to yourself, be gentle to yourself. Do something today that your future self will thank you for. And remember, the same God that created the oceans and the mountains and the rivers and lakes took one look at you, all of you, and said, the world needs one of you. All existence is the manifestation of frequency and sound that is dominated by consciousness in one form or another. So that's it. And we've done it right on time, 1 hour, 30 minutes.